Yeah, so they got. Did I start too soon? Yeah, so they got, Trump and Biden making speeches on Instagram for the 2024 presidential election. All right, 2 points here. What about the 2032 presidential election? Higher number. Could be cooler and better. I don't know. Or it could be awful. It could be a fucking mess. Okay, and then maybe it's a higher number of awfulness. +8. But +8 to awfulness stat. But, well, there will have been 8 more years of regression, environmental destruction, and worsening global warming disaster. Conflict between nuclear nations. So, yeah, there will have been 8 more years of fucking fucked up shit happening. Anyways, what is it? Well, anyways, I can't post on Instagram. You're like, oh, why can't you pull that off, guy? Whoa. I may have lost my phone because my brains were full of poison. Careful about putting too much poison in your brains. Your brains will be filled with holes. But hopefully by 2032, the holes in my brain will have filled back up with brains. So anyways, I'm running for president in 2032. And what do they got? What do they got for their messaging right now? I don't know. Well, I'm going with a different style. Okay, so global emergency. Global emergency. Pretend I began the speech with those words. Global emergency. This is a global emergency. It's a multifaceted, or multi-categoried, or there's various shits about it, global emergency. So first part of our global emergency, which this first part can result in all of our deaths, is the danger of nuclear war and nuclear winter. They built too many fucking bombs, made them too strong, and they could be quickly fired, causing nuclear winter that would, I'm gonna say it in the ways I can say it. It would cause human extinction. I mean, that's what some study stuff indicates. Whatever, man. So a conflict between the U.S. and China, or a conflict between the U.S. and Russia, or a conventional war between either one, or proxy war between either one, could escalate to a nuclear exchange, causing such a severe nuclear winter that humans will go extinct. Okay, so global emergency point number 1. Humans face extinction from nuclear war and nuclear winter. Global emergency point number 2. We need peace to survive, by the way. Global emergency point number 2. The runaway global warming. You're like, what? Runaway global warming. It's real, man. Really. So, there was like, fucking shit. This is the point I'll bring up first. Like, there was a heat wave in Arizona. And there was a heat wave across the United States and in other places during the summer of 2023. And it was over 110 degrees in, like, Phoenix, Arizona and shit. Anyways, in Arizona, I guess some other places, people were falling on the asphalt and getting third-degree burns. So, like, global warming, bad. I'm just trying to use that as an example to help demonstrate, like, global warming, very bad problem. There were the gigantic forest fires in Canada that, like, distributed smoke into, like, some of the upper states of the U.S. as well. And there were the very high ocean temperatures and sea surface temperatures in the Mediterranean oceans around the world. They were measuring high ocean surface temperatures. There were droughts. There was more fucked up flooding in Pakistan. It was really bad the year before, though. The Arctic ice cap is melting rapidly. It has like 40% plus summer sea ice extent decrease. So 40% less summer sea ice extent. So it covers 40% less area than it did like 100 years ago. Or more than 40%. I don't know exactly, but that's what the record indicates. It's been molting. Um, and they're fucking chainsawing the rainforest down and shit. So I was talking about like fucking what happens when there's damn near no Arctic ice cap in the summer? What happens when there's barely any rainforest left, or just like way, way, way less than there is right now? What happens when the CO2 ppm hits 500 parts per million, which it would in the 2050s at the rate we're going? Terrible things, as a way to describe it. It's just like these. This is what we're progressing towards. Okay, we're progressing towards an extreme global environmental catastrophe that will be causing severe problems for global human civilization. Then, again, over time, nuclear armed nations are in major conflicts which can lead to war. As time goes on, like these conflicts progress and continue to risk escalating to war or causing a war or whatever. As as time goes on, and nuclear armed nations don't have proper systems of diplomatic connection that are fully functional and communicative, and that's more time for potential crisis to escalate conflict between these nuclear armed nations. So consider like the continuing situation where nuclear armed nations don't have proper diplomatic systems and they have like cut off of diplomatic contact because they're in disagreement with each other, to be like added up risk factor for leading to perhaps conventional war between them, which can risk escalation of nuclear war. Or it could be conventional proxy war, as we have the situation with the US and NATO arming Ukraine, and then Russia fighting with Ukraine, and then Russia considers US and NATO to be an adversarial position, as does US and NATO consider Russia to be an adversarial position. It could lead to direct combat between US/NATO and Russian forces. That's not their intention, actually, at this point. And, they made that clear, but both sides have made that clear through not fighting with each other up to this point, I guess. But that could occur, and that would risk leading to a nuclear exchange. Which could cause human extinction, of course. And then, where's Russia? So anyways, as time going on without good diplomatic connections between nuclear armed nations is like accumulated risk of there being a nuclear war, nuclear winter that could cause human extinction. So we don't want the situation to persist for any longer than the quickest time we can manage to fix it. We don't want this. We want to fix the problem of flaws in diplomatic relations between nuclear armed nations as quickly as possible. So anyways, nuclear armed nations get in conflicts, and then they'll cut off contact with each other in terms of their diplomatic connections. And what we need is a stable and reliable system of diplomacy between nuclear armed nations where they maintain full diplomatic connection with each other even if they're having a major conflict. And it's especially important for them to maintain full diplomatic contact with each other when they are in a conflict, because they need full diplomatic contact with each other when they're having a conflict, because that's when it's most important for them to work out disagreements in ways which can help to avoid war between the two nuclear armed nations. And the three that I would pay most attention, I consider most concerning in terms of deteriorated diplomatic relations and them potentially going to war with each other, is US Russia, US China, India Pakistan. So these three country pairs in particular need improved diplomatic relations as quickly as possible. So there's lots of global warming, environmental destruction, rapidly progressing. There's been a lot of accumulated environmental destruction, so they've deforested a lot up to this point. They put a lot of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere up to this point. Like, the CO2 level is 50% higher than it was 200 years ago. So, we breathe in like lungfuls of air that contained 50% more carbon dioxide than people did 200 years ago. And all of that came from our fossil fuel based system and animal agriculture and other greenhouse gas sources that are human based, but I think that's most of it. So there's accumulated environmental damage that is rapidly progressing to be more accumulated damage, which means more negative outcomes. So, as greenhouse gas levels rise higher and higher, we're going to get worse global warming outcomes. Anyways, so it's global emergency. Global emergency. Okay, Michael Ericson for president. No, your name's out. That track is a criminal. Oh no. Michael Ericson for United States President 2032. And it's like, why? 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 So we can deal with the global emergency! Shit! Oh man! That's it! Yep! We gotta deal with that global emergency. Because we're in danger. So the idea is I get a bunch of people working in task forces on dealing with the global emergency. The president man can assign a bunch of people to work on task forces. There's a lot of employee resources available and technological resources to like figure things out and stuff. So it's like solution strategies could be devised and applied by task groups put together by a U.S. president. And I don't think that's adequately occurring at this point. And so, now if I thought like fucking, oh, someone also fucking deal with the problems perfectly and shit if they were U.S. president instead in 2032. Like what, why bother with the harebrained scheme I have here? But I have seen evidence over time that the nuclear war risk problem and the global warming problem are not best rationally dealt with by U.S. presidential administrations. You know, I see there's what could be done by U.S. presidential administrations with all the resources they have, and there's what is done, and there's like this huge gap between it. Like an effectiveness gap, maybe. I don't know. You can make up terms for these things, but using resources gap. So the idea would be to get closer to the more positive solution providing that could be done to serious global problems in terms of using the resources to the best of like a U.S. presidential administration's ability, which is very, very, they have so much access to resources and like funding and many, many employees and things like that. It's just like, anyways, the problems we have can be better dealt with. Vote for me for president so we can better deal with the problems. And it's just like, I don't have to fucking, one person doesn't have to fix everything, but there needs to be someone in a U.S. presidential administration who will just organize and order, or just order the better using of resources that are available to the executive branch to deal with serious global problems that we have. Okay? So, just one person getting in there and giving the green light to using the resources of the executive branch to deal with severe global problems we have, like the global warming issue and the nuclear war risk issue. Okay? We need that green lighted. If you hear this and you want to get someone in presidency sooner to fix the world so we aren't as likely to die from nuclear war, nuclear winter, or don't have as bad global warming, please do that. But anyways, I'll be trying in 2032. Vote for Michael Ericson in 2032. Don't look up his criminal record.